In this comparison video, we will be discussing the reliability of the Gospels and exploring whether Jesus lived and died on this earth, which would make him at minimum a historical figure and at most the Son of God.
Many convoluted ideas in the Bible, making the reading path hard to follow. You see, Jesus makes these wild claims that are just so out of the ordinary, it's superhuman. Christians claim that Jesus is their idol and that they want to live a Christ-centered life. However, simple Bible verses in the Bible contrast and contradict what Jesus said. In this investigation, there are many things we're looking at, including Mark 10:21. Jesus said, "One thing you lack. Go and sell all you possess and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. And come and follow me." Furthermore, Jesus in John 14 verse 12 and Mark 16:17-18 said, "Very truly I tell you, whoever believes in me will do the works I have been doing, and they will do even greater things than these, because I am going to the Father." This implies that Jesus' true followers should be able to routinely perform the following tricks. Number 1, cast out devils. Number 2, speak in tongues. Number 3, take up servants. Number 4, drink poisons without harm. And number 5, cure the sick by touching them, and many other of Jesus' works. Curiously, I have yet to see a Christian that can do any of the above on demand. This path of thinking again challenges the reliability of the New Testament, which brings me to my next point. See, according to a news article, The Independent, a Manhattan newspaper, Joseph Atwill, who is the author of a book entitled Caesar's Messiah, states that the Roman conspiracy to invent Jesus asserts that Christianity did not begin as a religion, but was actually a sophisticated government propaganda exercise used to pacify the subjects of the Roman Empire. See, Atwill's take on Jesus is of course not new. In 1844, Karl Marx famously declared religion as the opiate of the masses, using a simile to depict how Christianity is a drug for many people, hence meaning that it is insufficient and a hoax. As the story of Jesus in the New Testament has close relation to that of Titus Flavius, a Roman emperor. Critics believe that the story of Jesus was actually copied and created from the bibliography of the Roman emperor. This would mean that Christianity would in turn be false teaching, as the Roman emperor is not a direct descendant of God and therefore does not possess the knowledge of the Almighty One. But in Colossians 2 verse 8, it says, "See to it that no one takes you captive through hollow and deceptive philosophy, which depends on human tradition rather than on Christ." This verse, in relation to Jesus being Roman emperor, directly contrasts the views of Christians today. Since Jesus could be a Roman emperor, Christians today should not be following the false teachings, and so this tests the reliability of the New Testament accounts.
When considering that the New Testament accounts of Jesus' life are reliable, you must first establish that Jesus was in fact a real human being. This can be proven through Cornelius Tacitus, a Roman senator, but also arguably one of the best Roman historians to live. But he also had a known disliking to Christians. By 117 CE, he had written a major work that argued that Christus, which is what Tacitus referred to Jesus as at the time, was associated with the beginning of the Christian movement. He was also executed by the Roman governor of Judea, which at the time was Pontius Pilate. But this execution was also during the reign of Tiberius, which can be seen when he says, "Christus, the founder of the name, was put to death by Pontius Pilate, procurator of Judea." Many New Testament scholars date Jesus' death to be at 29 CE, while Tiberius was emperor from 14 to 37 CE. Say this poll is 14 CE. Now Pontius Pilate governed Judea from 26 to 36 CE. Say this poll is 26 CE. And this poll is 37 CE. That would mean that Jesus' death would have to be right in between these two polls, which it is in fact at somewhere around here at about 29 CE. This historical account strongly corroborates that Jesus was in fact a person, and that he was executed for starting the Christian movement by Pontius Pilate. Another source supporting Jesus as a person was Josephus, a Jewish priest, who became aligned with the Roman emperors, who at the time hated the Jewish people. In one of his books, Antiquities of the Jews, he accounted that Jesus' execution was the result of the high priest, which can be seen when he says, "These things happened to the Jews to avenge James the Just, who was brother of Jesus, that is called Christ. For the Jews slew him, although he was the most just man." James the Just was the name he used for Jesus at the time. This historical document would make no sense if Jesus was not actually in fact a real person. And finally, you cannot assess the reliability of Jesus' life in the New Testament if you do not consider the fact that all of these accounts are from eyewitnesses, from disciples, and these are extremely unlikely to be bludged or made false in any way, because all of these people risk their lives every day for Christianity. So, in conclusion, my investigation is proved.
In conclusion, both arguments have extensive evidence backing their claims, which is why there is no decisive answer to the question of whether the accounts of Jesus' life in the New Testament are reliable. Ultimately, it is reliant to the individual to answer this question for themselves.